Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome back, Jamie here today, and we're going to be talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Next Generation, which was released in 1995, 5 years after Part 3. And we got to say before we get started, man, this film is so out there and crazy, I know. But it's also very meta as well, actually, we'll get into. There's definitely elements of meta in here, way before Scream was released as well. Kim Henkel was the writer of the original film with Tobe Hooper, and he directed this film. Even the opening title with, like, the narration, it references the other two films, and it's like, oh, these seem to be related. Like, you know, because if you go with the continuity, it's hard to relate those films. From there, we get introduced to the main characters at prom. You can tell straight, like, these characters are annoying. Apart from Jenna, who's played by Renee Zellweger, the rest of them are just annoying. But I like this bit. They take the photo and it sounds just like, you know, the original sound effect, even though that camera would not make that noise, but still. Like I said, the only character that counts really is Jenny, who's played by Renee, and she does a good job. It's one of her first roles, and, you know, she does a pretty good job. The rest of the characters, though, are just so annoying. And eventually they get into a car crash, and like they're walking through the forest, and it's so bright inside this forest, and they're like, oh no, the torch isn't working, but it's so bright, like literally you don't need the torch, mate. I don't know what you're talking about. From there they wander into this office, and we get introduced to Darla, who's like this businesswoman, as it seems, but we find out later on she's part of the family, and you can tell she's crazy because she's like, oh, all these people just want to look at my tits, and then they're driving, like, I think it's school kids or something, she flashes them. It's like, what the fuck? She ends up calling Vilma for help. This is the first reference we get, who's played by Matthew McConaughey, and Matthew McConaughey steals the show inside this film. Oh my god. If you're gonna watch this film, it's not for watching Leatherface, it's for watching Matthew, because he's so good. He just steals every single scene that he's in. Speaking of which, he shows up beside his truck with Illuminati written on the side, which gives you some clue about what's going to happen inside this film. He's also got like a robot mechanical leg, which is worked with like TV remotes and stuff. And one character's there, and, you know, the guy that hits on the floor, he just snaps his neck and he kills him. And he's like,
first, I'm gonna kill you. It ain't no fucking biggie.
Matthew's so good inside this film, man. So the other two characters wander to Leatherface's house, and he finally shows up. And I gotta say, Leatherface inside this film, man, he's just so annoying. Most of the time, he just screams. He don't even seem like the same character. But at the same time, like I said, the film's meta, and you can sort of make the argument that Leatherface being this way is because of the decline in horror. Which later on, when the Illuminati guy shows up, he says, oh, I want to see the true meaning of horror. So maybe it's, you know, a reference to how the horror franchise was in the late 90s, you know, because before Scream came out, it was kind of dying. But Leatherface inside this film, all he does is scream, man. He don't even look the same either. He's got normal teeth as well. He don't even seem like the same character. He looks like Mick Foley in a way from WWE. It's crazy. But I hate Leatherface inside this film, I really do. Just the way they portray him, stuff like that, it's not good. Matthew McConaughey Vilma, he's the star of this show. Like, if they removed the Leatherface and called it something else, I think people might like this film more. I'll give it credit though, it's the fourth inside the franchise, and they did do something different. From there, we get a shit version of the original of the chase. Like, Jenny's running through the house, he chainsaws through the door, she jumps through a window, but this time she's on the roof, and it's like a little roof scene. She jumps on like a cable. I don't know how it didn't snap, and then she's able to get away from that. From there, she runs onto the road, and she encounters Vilma inside his truck, and he's got two of the bodies in the back, and he makes her see it. And, you know, she obviously freaks out. Matthew again inside this scene, man. He's just amazing. He really is. You can tell he's giving it his all, and he's just crazy, man. One thing I gotta say about Renee, Jenna, she can run. She's one of the fastest final girls I've ever seen, man. She just sprints the fuck out of there. She wanders over to Darla inside the house, like office thing, and then Darla phones for backup to get taken back to the house. So it's, you know, it's like the original in a way with Drayton, where, you know, you feel like, oh, this character's safe, but they're really not. They're part of the family. She talks to Jenny about how he works for the Illuminati, basically, and like they run everything. They killed Kennedy and all this, and you can tell Jenny don't believe it, because who would? And later on, Matthew, like, Vilma's got her inside the chair, and he's like, you don't think all these walls are bugged? You don't think the FBI is listening in? So it's, you can tell they're playing with something different. Like, the concept he introduced here is batshitting crazy, but in a way, I guess it makes sense with like the continuity issues, and also, like, you know, the meta commenting on how horror was at this time. Like, I'm just skipping it. I'm not gonna like go through everything that happens because this is some batshit crazy. But we get the dinner. Obviously, it won't be a Texas film without the dinner table scene, right? Matthew walks in saying, "All right, all right, all right." Oh, we got a grandpa inside this film, but he looks more alive than he has in any of the others. He's literally just a guy with like white makeup on, and this is where the meta shit kicks in, because grandpa just grabs a knife And he walks out of the table and out of this film. He just gets the fuck out of there. He's like, I've had enough of this. I'm just out. I'm not getting killed or nothing. I'm just getting out of here. So there's another, obviously the special makeup effects weren't that good, but maybe it's intentional. Because literally he just looks like a normal guy with just like white makeup on. He don't even look dead, but he just walks out of this film. And this is another good scene I like a lot. Jenny's leaving and Leatherface starts laughing, standing up. She's like,
You sit the fuck down. Shut up.
he sits back down. Like, she makes him into a bitch, but the film's pretty much done that at this point anyway. Leatherface is just not scary inside this film, but it just always makes me laugh how she just takes control of the situation and demands that he sits down. Here's where the film kicks up, because the Illuminati shows up, this guy, and he's like talking to the filmer. He's like, why are you not doing your job? I want these people to experience true horror. So in a way, you could sort of say like this guy's supposed to be the audience. Like, he's coming to make sure that the film is trying to scare us, you know. And then he's commenting like, what are you guys doing here? Like, what's going on? It's out of balance. So I feel like it was ahead of its time in a way. This is before Scream and Cabin in the Woods and all that. And, you know, some people just look at this like, oh, it's so stupid, just the Illuminati with this guy with like all these piercings and stuff on his stomach. But I look at it in a way like the meta aspects, because he's basically representing the audience. He's like coming in like, what's going on? This isn't a Texas film. I want these people to experience true horror like the original. Always makes me laugh. Matthew McConaughey's like when it's twitching and stuff. It sounds like Mario in a way. It's really weird. And also later on, when Jenny's like trying to get away, Matthew jumps off the roof and he just makes some weird sound. I don't know what this sound is, but it's so funny. We're gonna skip ahead to the end, like the final chase scene. It's Leatherface and Vilma driving, and Jenny's like inside this other car, and he's got the chainsaw, and then this fucking plane comes out of nowhere, just hits Vilma inside the head. He's dead. Like, what? It must be a part of the Illuminati, but you see the Illuminati guy inside the car, so it's not him. But he must have sent that plane. Speaking of which, he pulls up inside the car and saves Jenna, and he says, oh, I apologize, it wasn't supposed to be this way. It's supposed to be like a spiritual experience. So again, going with the meta stuff. And he like asks, like, do you want to go to the police station or the hospital? She chooses the hospital, of course. We get Leatherface as well, just swinging the chainsaw. This is one of the weakest dances that he does. I don't really like this one. But, you know, it's iconic, innit? Because that's what he always does. They take Jenny to the hospital, and the guy, like, talking to her, I think he played Grandpa in the original. But we've got two other actors who show up as well. Because Sally, the original actor playing her as well, is wheeled past on a gurney. The person pushing her is Franklin, the actor who played Franklin in the original as well. So Franklin and Sally are both in there. And Jenny looks at Sally, they look at each other, and she recognizes her. And the doctor's like, oh, do you know her? What the hell's going on here? And that's how the film ends. And you're like, what? What the fuck? It's bad enough that Sally was in there, even though, what was it, part 3 or 2, when they said, oh, she died. You got Franklin there. I mean, technically it looks nothing like her, but it's the same actor pushing her. Like, this is what I mean. This meta aspect of this film is crazy, man. It really is. And I guess that's what he was referring to, like the spiritual experience. You know, Sally went through it, and now Jenny has. So they, you know, they're sort of connected in that way. It's crazy, this film. I think people's main problem with it is how Leatherface is portrayed. But if you look at it as like a comment on how horror was inside the 90s, I could sort of accept it, even though I hate. Like, if I was ranking Leatherfaces, this would be down at the bottom. Nah, down at the bottom, no doubt. Overall rating for Texas Chainsaw Massacre New Generation, I'm gonna give it 6 out of 10, man. It's something different. It's batshit crazy. I do find it entertaining. Obviously, they mess up Leatherface, who, you know, is the main star, but Matthew McConaughey steals the show. I think Jenny's one of the best final girls. Like, she could just fucking run, and she don't put up with any shit, really, does she? But like I said, like, the Leatherface portrayal I can understand, because it's commenting on like how horror was and stuff, and it's very metal. Let me know your comments and opinions down below. I'm guessing most people are not going to agree. They're going to hate this film, but I think it's better than Texas Chainsaw 3, 3D, and Leatherface, to be honest. Make sure you like and subscribe. Next week we'll be talking about the Texas Chainsaw remake, which came out in 2003, which is another really good. I think it's one of the best remakes. But until then, peace out in a bit.